Hi everyone, I hope you're well. We are going to look at some predictions for August. I will be doing an August coverage of predictions that are a bit specific as well. These predictions that I'm doing today are going to be some of August, and there's going to be another one with August, but I'm going to mix this up with some of August. Obviously, sometimes I get some futuristic stuff, and that's why I don't like to label it as the month. Those of you that are subscribed understand that you can go back and revisit them. But I'm also going to look at hot topics that I seem to see thumbnails on and just give you the prediction on that as well. And I have some questions, so it's a bit of the mixed bag edition that I do with some August predictions. One thing that I do want to say is that this popped up on my screen. You see that? Now, a few months ago, I predicted that there would be a species of fish, like a mammoth, a fish, that seems to be historic age, just not seen before. It's a new species that comes up. This is exactly how it was looking. It was looking like a fish. Here they've labeled it a shark, I think. Ancient shark. But if you go back to, those of you that have seen the predictions will know that I mentioned it. So when it popped up, I was like, usually I don't really validate the stuff because it's, you know, if it's a larger channel, you can always get someone who can track that and do like little clips of validation. Sometimes I just tend to post something. Like, so for example, there's quite a lot that's been validated in the Brian Koberger case. Stuff like, it's not necessarily Maddie that was the motive, like everyone was saying. Other things like, what was the other things that I got? I got quite a lot in the Koberger case. So, and others, of course, that's not the only one, but what I mean is that, so this is a new species of ancient shark that has been discovered in a cave national park in Kentucky. The fossils were found on site, dating back approximately 340 to 335 million years to when Mammoth Cave was submerged in a warm, shallow sea, teeming with life including crinoids and corals, according to the National Park Service. So I did mention, and it looked exactly like that. The only thing that didn't look like that is that part, you know, there, like where it's looking like a shark. It was more like a roundy fish, but exactly the same color, exactly everything. So that's interesting. That's come through. Right. So let's look at some predictions. Some things that I want to look at is that, you know, I understand that a podcaster called Candice Owens has a defamation case against her from Macron and his wife, the president, because she had said that Brigitte was born a man. So I don't know how she's taking this, if she's confident, etc. But as I tap into that energy, I don't think it's going to work in her favor, the outcome. I don't get a positive seeing of the outcome for Candice. Obviously, this is a prediction. It's only the energy as I read it now, but that's what I'm seeing. I think it's going to be in the favor of Macroon and Brigitte. And by the way, who thinks Candice is right? Not in terms of what she's done or said, you know, but in terms of the identity, the gender. Just put yes or no, don't. I think this August and onwards, please do check the other readings where I've got the 7-year prediction. I've got July to November, the most recent one as well. And a lot of the ones that I've done cover quite not only that month, basically. There's going to be loss of traffic control satellite navigation. So there's going to be like airplane traffic control misses, like it might be a miss accident. There could be something, you could hear a stuff on commercial airlines. I should really take notes so that I can write what I've got in the thing. Okay. Okay. The other thing is that I'm seeing a lot around Obama. Now, if Obama does get arrested, it's a fake Obama, all right? The timing of this is a distraction from files list. But I believe some of the things that might be going on, which I don't know around him, are legit. So if this is what's going on around him, I don't know why he'd be arrested, but if things like questioning his sexuality, questioning his relationship with his wife, if they're having a bad time, yes, I do see a really bad time between them, like and she's quite resentful in some way. It's like she's quite overpowering in her resentment. But a question on sexuality, yes. So I don't know what he's done, but also in the Epstein files reading that I did say that the current admin wanted to really release them because of who would be inflicted from the other admin. But then they've got themselves in a pickle because of the reasons that I outlined in the video. One of the things is linking Obama, but there's others in there as well. So in terms of Obama, the arrest, I don't know what it'd be for, but if there is, I don't think it is, but if there is, it will be a fake Obama, you know. So if we're looking at the woo-woo predictions I do, this would be the cloned or whatever they say in terms of Obama. Okay. Right. So we are going to continue to see media, revelation of the media change, the mainstream media, the late night shows, the TV broadcasting. Some of them not getting renewed or signed or let go of, or, you know, people are still going to continue to divert even more to social media and different platforms. So the dismantling of media and the mainstream media is late night TV is gone. It's going. The traditional way to deliver information is getting dismantled, and we're going to continue to see that. I also see a protest of people demanding change, and this protest that gets ignited and it could be anywhere in the world. I'm not going to, because I don't think it, I see it in 2 countries in particularly, and I think it's also going to be in a country in Europe as well as possibly the UK and US. But it stems from a single media tweet, and you might not realize that, but then there's the protest that people just demand and put their foot down to change. One thing I want to mention is I'm going to do a reading on the UK about this new elite workforce, but I'm also going to tie in with it how government, disclaimer for intent purpose only, control us through illegal immigration. So look out for that. Let me know in the comments if you're excited. I see in the coming months a passing of a famous actor. I see a health chronic issue from a person known, like a leader, government, famous person that we know, like a politician, etc., comes out. It could even be Biden, just to open up your minds. I see a financial light happening around Epstein files remember I mentioned about the finances and the sort of, if you go back to my video, I mentioned sort of the matrix of the donations or the support that go into other areas. I think there's going to be more on that. I also see the files or the list is going to be released through leakage. So it's not going to be here's your list, it's going to be slowly leakage. And victims coming forward need to be careful if those victims just want a bit of the spotlight or what it is. So I do see that. I do see in August like a real estate acquisition or something with real estate transaction that gets investigated, and the money is not going wherever it was supposed to go to in a bank account or something. It's more of it's gone to a nefarious cause, and that's going to come to light. I also see a document, now link it to something we might have said, that implicates a famous, well-known person, could be famous, could be politician, government leader, whatever, and it really, really triggers and winds up people and the public. In July, I'd mentioned the education sector funding in question. The education sector will be changing. We're going to continue to see changing. I see here a school or education institute or something in that sector really, really affected. And this could be like a protest from teachers, a protest from janitors, and it could be a protest like of that labor force of education school because of AI being introduced. I also see a protest, and I see it directly in Hollywood, LA, but it's going to span across because Hollywood, LA is around the film, etc. But it's an AI protest against where AI is getting introduced because of like Hollywood sound, film directors, editors, and so those roles, those directors, editors, sound people, producers, film editors are going to be doing a protest against AI for their roles. And obviously I see Hollywood and LA, but it will cascade around different areas because, you know, it all ties in. The film industry, the sound industry, you all learn from, you know, for example, the sound industry, Dolby is really big, and so they always see Dolby as a great one for the cinema, etc. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world, the pioneers always stand out, and then it cascades. That's how I see this happening. This cascade won't be in August, but it triggers in it might trigger in August, and it cascades to different countries. I see something coming up around health benefits, policies, a rewriting of policies, even a review of policies. In one country, there's like a health benefit that could be introduced. In another country, I see a rewriting of policies, a review. And if you remember in the last predictions, July, November, I mentioned across this time period, there's going to be a reviewing of policies, decisions that were made, a rewriting of those kind of stuff. But here I see this in specific, and also an announcement of like a health medicine, a medication. It could be a supplement. I feel like it's more really health rather than a supplement. That comes up, and it said that this actually wasn't really good for us. It wasn't good for you. So something gets triggered around that you know, possible deception, a lie. There's something around the health there. I did mention in July time, and these things did come forward. Like I mentioned, there will be a pause on the escalation of the heightened escalation of Iran, Israel, where US were like, it was really, really getting up, and then there'll be a bit of calm. Yes, it's keep continuing to go, but they did calm down, and now the focus is the humanitarian in Gaza, which I said for Israel, he just wants any country he can take over. I mean, he's taken over Jerusalem and Palestine. It's only Gaza and the way they were living in a trench, barricaded, and now basically making the Palestinians extinct. And where in the world is famine and genocide allowed by another country to do that, like a Holocaust on that country? Yet the Jews go on about the Holocaust of what happened to them, but they're doing it, you know, Israel's doing it to Gaza, which is like, what is it, taking that area? I don't know, it's heartbreaking. I don't see anywhere in the world being allowed any country to do that. Yes, there is famine and there's hunger in the third world countries, but that is their land. You know, they've got a shortage. It's their land. It's their third world land. It's not like there's a country doing that and stopping food and aid. And by the way, I want to tell you something. I want to share something. You know, the large organizations where you donate to Gaza all these years, the large corporations, not all that money goes to Gaza. Not all those charities go to Gaza. It gets stopped. It's those large corporations that actually support Israel, just to let you know. I mentioned around weather predictions, and that has come through. It's coming through. The legacy of media, education, and I mentioned about the funding and some other stuff. They're just things that I remember off the top of my head. This is what I want to cover for the UK, so we'll look at that in a minute in a separate video. I am going to do a channeling on Ozzy Osbourne. I will do that, so look out for that. I've seen something going on about Amy Lynn Bradley, who went on a cruise ship, and maybe I should do this separate video. Went on a cruise ship with her family, I believe, and then they don't know if she was kidnapped, if she has passed away, if she's alive somewhere. I believe it was an accident. I believe, even though there might have been some nefarious energy, firstly, I don't think she wanted to go on that cruise. Despite that she could have been having quite a lot going for her in life, maybe studies or whatever it is, because I think she was quite young. I think she wasn't as gel bounded to her family as she felt. Maybe there was something that she felt a bit of an outsider, but that's not from their side. But I do think that this was an accident in the early hours of the morning, unfortunately. But there is kind of chaos around this as well. As there seems to be a lot of mystery and confusion and other things coming through. But I do think ultimately it was an accident. So could that mean she fell off board, or fell off overboard? Sorry. Yeah, it was an accident. It was an accident. I got my confirmation card. Yeah, I do get an accident. Yeah, I don't think she's with us anymore. Although, you know, I was getting different stuff. You know, I was getting I do think it was an accident. Yeah, it was an accident. Get it again, and I get like, so I don't know, there's something in me that wants to visit a bit further, but that's what I get around the Amy Bradley. And I might just chop this into a little segment because some people might be interested around it. So I think she might have fallen overboard. It was in the very early hours of the morning is what I see. If she stayed on that cruise a bit longer, there could have been something nefarious where they might have tried to sneak her out into a store area in the cruise. But no. And the reason I say this is because I think the family, even if they've tried to come to terms with it, they're still in doubt. They just want to know. It's kind of like, has she been spotted? Does someone know her? Is she confused about her identity? Does she know who she is? Is she sold into something and she doesn't know who she is anymore? Like, there's all this confusion that I'm getting around the family, and I think they love her a lot, and it's causing pain. So I feel like they've tried to say she's passed away, but was this in the 90s? I know it must have been a while back, but I see the thumbnail continuous on YouTube recently. I don't know if there's a documentary that's just come out or something. Sometimes that's what happens. One question that I had recently, which I didn't cover in the next one, is do souls choose to wish to reincarnate just to get revenge on other, you know, someone who maybe was done something bad or whatever? Your soul at that stage enters where it sees everything from the person's side, um, and your side, and you don't carry it with you. It's kind of like you, revenge is more like a fear 3D based. Um, do you see where you've been wronged by? Yes, but like to come back for revenge is more like a human kind of stuff. Human based thinking, human based 3D way, whereas souls know. So we wouldn't get you wouldn't choose to reincarnate into either you again or same life path, or a life path just to stand in their way to get revenge. I understand that some life paths are chosen again for that lesson or a journey, but not to get revenge, if that makes sense. I still see, which I've said over years, sea level will rise. But if you're in a country, I don't know why I'm getting this. If you're in a country where you're worried about it, I think those countries are going to have buffers, which are tech or some kind of smart technology that assist them to protect the land from the high and sea levels from being taken over. And I specifically see Scandinavian, Norwegian countries here. Now, this is not obviously August, it's not this year, but look out for that. And I mentioned this because I have mentioned about sea levels. I've also mentioned, though, this year and into the next, look out for certain countries, their identity is going to change. Remember I said about New Zealand, I think I said about Indonesia. You can go back to those. And there's going to be a lot of fighting of borders of countries, and the easiest way that some of them are going to try to manipulate this, the greed, is through the sea. So that's something else. Like I said, I do see a releasing, a leakage of Epstein file, lists of names. Will you get I still don't believe you'll get the whole list because it's going to be catastrophic. What was the word I got? I know, can see the word catastrophic. No, catastrophe. Catastrophic. It's a catastrophe, but why can't I say it the other way? Or maybe I did say it. I got it in the thing. And Ghislaine, although she's met with the DOJ, she, look at the reading I did. I don't think this is going to release her now. She might get something more, like if she was going through an appeal or something around, I think I said, go back to the video because I might not get this right. I'm trying to remember, June next year, it'd work more in her favor. Or 27, 28, I see a even better situation for her. I do think she will get out on a lighter sentence or eventually get out earlier than the 20 years. I do see that. What's happening here, by the way, between them is that there's like a game on each party. What can each party, she's being clever in what she releases, so she is holding back, and she does have her own connections, by the way, and some of those connections could possibly have it in for Duck, which would not be a surprise. But she's being very selective on the information that she gives, because in my video I said her first way to try and appeal is through something, I said, and then she'll try and the name route, but the name route frightens her, because I also think I can see in her, she believes that Epstein did not unsubscribe himself. So she's got to be very careful. So that's what I've got on that. Something else here. So I did have a question around the Eiffel Tower and who designed it. You know, I get the Eiffel Tower was supposed to be designed, originally built for something, but then that origination of why it was built and modelled was not allowed, didn't go ahead by the Gov. And I don't know why. Does anyone know the history of that? I'm going to Google this afterwards. And it was designed, I'm getting Tesla and then Eiffel. So that's what I get around that. That's a very interesting question. I'm going to actually look that up. So I've had this question before, and I think the person might have just got bored waiting. But the reason I'm going to check on this is Imran Khan, who's in prison at the moment. I think he was the Pakistani president. Is he okay? I get he was, I don't know what he's done, and I think a lot of people say there's a lot of corruption, but I think ultimately he might have stood with Ukraine very early on, or certain countries that maybe the US were not allied with. But I don't know. That's something I do get. But let's see how he's doing in prison at the moment. Is he in prison in the US or in Pac? Oh, that's another one I need to Google as well. Interesting. I feel like a bit of a loss of a will. He feels very limited in his choices. Okay, there is something, there is someone who's providing loving support to him. So I don't know if he's married, he's in connection, there's someone who's providing loving support, but he feels very limited in terms of his choices. He also feels like whoever he's providing, and I think this is a lover, whether it's a wife, he's not able to reach her as much as he would like. There's like a disconnect. He's not allowed to. And I do think it's someone overseas. So wherever he is, someone overseas. There is an energy either he's in or someone around him that is quite spiteful and jealous at this moment in time. I'm not sure what that's about. I don't really know the history of this, but quite a lot of emotion and motive, like fire energy here, but not in the right direction. And I don't mean it's from him. I feel like it's there's like an opposition against him, jealousy, infidelity. There's some deception around him, and it could be from overseas. Then there's this energy of a loved one that's just, it seems to be present, but there's a blockage there. So I don't know if they're even being infidelity, having infidelity not being very true. Yeah, I do think if he's married, there's something going on where there's not a bit of honesty there with that woman. And there's kind of like, there is kind of some kind of wish going to come through for him, but he's being very closely monitored, by the way, very closely monitored in not a very good way. Even to the point of he's taking a shower. Is he like, yeah, and then there's this male energy here that's kind of dishonest as well. It's like there's a double deal happening. There's some kind of scandal here. There's a scandal happening, and there's some injustice happening for him. I also get some roguery. Like, this is not very good. It's very difficult because I don't understand why he's in there, but this energy is not very good. So, yep. Those of you that are waiting on an update on Imran Khan, I had one question actually. I don't even know if the lady's a subscriber, but I do think there's going to be a trade tariff change in policy coming up. And I think we need to be careful around flights around, like I mentioned, end of July, and events around the end of July as well. I'm going to give you some dates. I'm going to give you from around the 7th and 9th. I'm going to give you the 11th. I'm going to give you the 12th, the 20th, the 21st. I'm also getting the 27th. Someone messaged me, and I thank you, saying that there was an earthquake in Alaska, which I didn't even hear about, and that I had mentioned. The Ring of Fire area still stays quite a risk, okay? I do think that Japan between now and middle of next year is going to have 2 earthquakes. I see one for China as well. But they're creating the tsunami effect, which I've been warning about. The water, it's water that's angry, and these quakes are the plates shifting, but also the water that's really just is like that, and it's causing that as well, which then is giving the tsunami effect. Yeah, Japan. I also think there's a turmoil with Japan at this moment in time. I don't know if there's something happened with the government, finances, but there's something definitely around financial deals with another country that could either come to a close, a complete, or it could just go in a total crisis direction. I've got no idea what this is, but we can look out for it. Navigation satellite goes down, and I think this is going to be after the first week, from the first week to kind of like the mid-third week, but look out for August. Navigation satellite, that kind of energy. You know, if I want to pinpoint it directly after the sort of 7th, 8th, those days. Ghislaine in August, something's going to come up, you know, probably mid-August. So, you know, the names that she said, but everything she's saying is being very cautious. She knows what to release. She's not happy with who she believes didn't do their part and who was part of Epstein, because she believes he was done to. If she's pardoned, it's not now. Like I said, go to my reading. I don't think it's going to be now. But there is that background happening, deal it offer. But look out for something in August with her. It seems like they cannot announce fully and she can't announce it fully. Because if they announce it, she can then say, well, I was promised this deal, I was promised that. So that's why they can't announce it. Because if they go against it or if they don't fulfill it, she was like, well, excuse me, I'm talking to the Department of J or whatever, some big, you know, she can really say, you know, you promised this and they have to stick to it. So they can't announce it. But there is going to be leakage. You're going to see some names, leakage of the copies. And I don't mean a full copy like this, leakage of names. And if something is leaked, that's apparently a copy. It's actually, we need to look at it when it comes out, basically. Because you're not going to get the total original copy of lists. There's too many tiers. There's too many names implicated. Some that are not nefarious. Some that was just, you know, being men. Like, by the way, being men, I don't mean by the underage. I mean, like, you know, going out partying, doing business deals, liking to look at women that were maybe dressed in a provocative way, etc. Is this one attractive? Is that one attractive? That kind of stuff. And then obviously a lot of them invest money in stuff that shouldn't be invested. And I'm not talking about ST. Then you've got the tiers of ST involved and who was hiring and who wasn't hiring and who was actually with the committing criminal kind of stuff, right? Witnesses are going to start to come forward. We've got to look at them and investigate, are they legit? Don't forget, in one of my last readings I said that Elon has seen a copy, so he's going to continue on this rhythm. I do want to say that this whole thing is not gonna work to eradicate DT from the whole list of what is that. I believe that that's what they're trying to do as well, and I don't think it's gonna work. I did predict a rock star, the demise of a rock star, if you remember, a couple of months ago. And so I'm going to do a reading on Aussie. Interesting, Hulk Hogan came through, didn't he? His demise. I do think, by the way, if you're in your 70s, around 76, I know Hulk Hogan was 71, 76 seems to be a tricky age. That does not mean that you're going to demise, but you might be going through a bit of a chapter of difficulty or something. I don't know, like it seems like there's something that with that age, not that people are gonna pass away if they're at that age, but you might be having like, you might be feeling like this is proving to be a difficult few months, a difficult year, a difficult month, something around that. I do think the FBI could come into a bit of trouble, and that's not only because of something that they've done or acted or something, but also it's put them in the spotlight more because the tier above them, I don't know if that would be like someone else that's involved above them, parallel to them, but it's not underneath, is putting the spotlight on them to cover them. Is it the DOJ or will it be Congress? Whatever it is, something like that. Demise Vakhtov said, Netanyahu, when will this guy either drop off Earth or no longer be around or outed? I do think he will be outed. Let's pull cards, see what gets said there. Don't forget, he also needs to be brought in front of justice, Netanyahu, in front of the courts for a lot of stuff. So I don't think he'll be out by 2025. Do you know what I get with him? Eventually, when he does, I think he's going to be escaped to another country when he's outed. I don't think he's going to be there. I think some of his government will last and be there. But I think he's going to be outed and escape to another country, the cowards. Always, aren't they? I do want to answer something that I got about lower and higher self. He will be brought in front of courts and higher justice, but a lot of the truth of what he did, he won't be brought to justice and it will be hidden. But there will be something brought to light. But I feel like there's going to be a twist, and I don't know if they're going to try and say he's no longer on Earth or something so that they don't have to bring him to justice. With me seeing that escaping when it is his time, might have to do a separate reading on him. I've got a couple of more stuff here. I've got something on JD Vance I wanted to say. Ghislaine I've covered. Lower higher self I want to say. I do think we're going to see Europe coming to the aid of Gaza by trying to send food. Hopefully they won't stop it or pretend it's reaching, but it's not reaching, which a lot of the charities has been happening. So hopefully it doesn't get stopped. But Europe taking a stand, I think we're going to see that towards Gaza and the inhumane thing that's happening. This should have been done a long time ago. I've got a question. Mark Meadows was Trump's former chief of staff. Will he say anything to bring to light Or what's this? Will we hear from him? That sounds like he's just totally not visible at this moment. I think there's a bit of a sly energy, so I think you will hear from him, but I think what he's going to be trying to do is he's going to try to get some kind of background deal to work in his favor. Whatever he does is coming from his own insecurity. And so if he says something, it's coming from his own security. But I see that he's trying to keep quiet because he's trying to do something in the background that's going to come into his favor. It's a bit sly energy with him. Can someone tell me about him? Is he like that? Why is he out? Now let's talk about lower and higher self. I hear so much about lower and higher self, and lower self, I'm getting the download of digital currency, that our prediction I want to mention as well. Lower self and higher self is you, okay? Because so much is around, you're in your lower self, you're not operating from your higher self, etc. When we are going through a tough period, we might be a lot in our mind. It's you at the end of the day, whether it's your lower or higher self. The only thing with the higher self is you're more connected to your soul, your essence, your gut, that knowing, your soul, understanding your soul, listening to your soul. Whereas when they say lower self, it might just be that you're so in your head, and it could be from things around you, but ultimately your lower and your higher self is you, it's your soul, right? But when you're in your higher self, it's more connected to your soul. So I do want to say that because I see so much about it, and we think like, oh, you're in your lower self, you can't manifest this, you can't manifest that. Why can't you? The world is your thoughts, you can manifest everything. Just think about it, just try to manifest it. And I think some degree yes, but we need to clear that kind of thing. It's like chakras is your energy points. You know that this is my field. So chakras is your energy points. They can aid, when they are open, your gut reading, your psychic abilities, your feelings. So if, like, for example, someone to ask, can it help the clear levels, the different clairs? Yes, it helps us, the susceptibility, you can say, in terms of that. I did have a digital currency I see AI being used in telecom systems a lot more upcoming. Okay, this is already going to start commencing. We're going to see AI used in telecom systems a lot more. Iceland, there's a blue liquid, a resource that's a vital element that's going to be used for resources, for fuel or energy, and it'll be discovered in the future. Where's my digital currency prediction? Digital currency will come to play around the world. Remember, I kept saying about digital wallet for the UK. I kept seeing it in the ID and what they were trying to push. It's going to come around the world, but it's not going to replace cash just yet, okay? It's going to take some time to replace cash. Cash is not going to be replaced all of a sudden in the next year or couple of years. Might be a decade or so. There's still going to be cash around. Don't confuse what I say as digital currency with crypto. It's more possibly like more down the route of blockchain, but I do make that prediction. There's another prediction that I had here. JD Vance. So, I was mentioning in my last one, you're talking about I've got quite a few more predictions. Okay, so I'm going to cut this off here, and I will do the next predictions where I cover some of this, which will be JD Vance, because, you know, obviously people are saying about Duck, and some other stuff here. And I'm also going to talk about, oh no, this is the UK, so maybe let's talk about JD Vance. It'll be quick, and I might put these. JD Vance in the current energy, he's not as half as pressurized as Duck. I don't think the energy is right for him come 2020. I don't think it's great, but I do think between the end of this year, mainly 26th to 28th, he's going to try to raise his profile at certain times. And the times where his profile will raise, or he plays to raise it, will be when Duck is wavering, right? But I don't see that he's half as pressured, and I don't see that the energy in 2028, if that's when the election or the time for him to step up, is so far looking strong in his favor. That can obviously change, but I just felt like that is something that's being wondered upon, because this whole thing in the last one, I was saying, if you don't want the admin, don't wish somebody with ill health, because ultimately, if someone currently president has ill health, there's a vice in place that's going to take over, right? It's not going to suddenly go to the other admin unless something bigger, but if it's health, it's not. So that's what I have, and I'm going to do the UK. There is civil unrest, and that's what I have, I think, in terms of the main predictions I wanted to cover. I will just double check that, but I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please do give it a like, subscribe. If this is in a 2-part, you'll see part 1 and part 2. But if in future you wanted them in one, so if it's not like 45-50 minutes, if it's not one part now, 45-50 minutes, then it'll probably be 20-25. Let me know. Okay, I don't know if that made sense. Like, if it's a 45-50 minute video, it's probably completed it all in one. If it's a 25-20 video and it says part 1, part 2, let me know if you like it segmented like that or not. Take care, and I will see you in the next one. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, support the channel, and come back for your predictions and the videos. Don't forget the ones that I'm saying that I wish to cover. Take care of yourselves, and bye for now.